Hello, welcome back to the woods. My name's Neil.
My name is Hazel.
In this video, which is another in our Bushcraft with Kids series, we're going to look at
How to make a safe fire.
Now before we even start thinking about lighting a fire, there's three things we need first.
1. A way to put your fire out if it goes wrong. 2. An adult to keep you safe. 3. A good reason to have a fire. Like toasting marshmallows.
There is another rule which goes with those three, and that's a little bit of common sense. Make sure that your child is decked out properly for working around a fire. Try to avoid man-made fabrics, things like polyesters, fleeces, nylons, because they'll burn. If they get a spark on them, they'll melt. If they get flame on them, they melt and they stick to the child's skin. So go for natural fibres, things like wools and cottons, much safer. If you're working with girls, make sure the hair's tied back and out of the way. I always joke with my classes, I want everyone to leave with the fringe that they've arrived with, and in this case it's no different. Check over things like shoelaces, etc., so that they're not going to trip and perhaps stumble onto the flames. So it's all common sense stuff, but it's all stuff that you need to double check, remind yourself that these things need checking. Gear for this project, all we're going to need is our little survival necklace, but particularly the
Knife
and the ferro rod.
and a ferro rod.
The ferro rod, that's the
Ferro
one.
rod, yeah.
We're also going to need something we can boil water in, a little billy can, preferably with a bail arm on it. That can be made out of a tin can and a piece of wire if you haven't got a billy can. And we're also going to use Hazel's little toggle cord that she made last time, and that's going to help us with this project. Materials, well, some birch bark, and this is some that Hazel collected earlier on. And a couple of good sized twig bundles, and we'll go into that a little bit more in a moment. Now when we start talking to young people about materials, we have to be quite specific. What most people say is go away and gather some small sticks. This is what the child will come back with, because that's what you told them to gather. You need to be more specific. Instead, what I say is go away and get some really thin sticks, but they've got to be at least as long as your arm, and at the end almost as thin as hair. I don't stop there on the specifics either. I also tell them the colour I'm looking for. I'm looking for ones that are dark brown, they look almost purple, because that way I know what the child is gathering are birch twigs that are very thin, very dead, and will burn very well, so we get a really good chance of success. And we need lots. I always tell them to gather at least an armful. They should be able to get the bundle and almost not be able to get their arm all the way around it.
There.
Perfect.
We're just going to have to break this stuff off. Oh, there's some in the tree.
Yeah, they hitch in the tree, and if they're in the tree, it means they're off the ground, and they're not only dead, but they're also bone dry. And as you can see, there's another one in the tree below it. You getting the ones that are hitched in the trees?
Yeah, I'm also getting a couple of them.
That's really good.
More wagon.
Any good? Yeah, I do. So once you've gathered your twigs, what you then do is compress the bundle and fold it in two, which gives you this good sized bundle of very thin, very dry twigs. And ideally you want two. One like this one.
And this is what it should actually look like.
One like this one. To hold it together, I just use a little green whippy stick.
Like here?
And I wrap it around it like a withy, just to bind it in place.
Bit like this. It might
The great thing with these, particularly when you're working with youngsters, is it allows them to hold the bundle and place it over the fire, but it keeps them a safe distance away from it. So the next thing we're doing is preparing our birch bark. We're going to keep a slab of it, but we're also going to shred it up so that we've got lots of little pieces like that. There you go. We've also cleared the ground. We've used an old fire scar, but if you're in the woods and it's a fresh area, make sure you clear it back so it's bare earth. So Hazel's now getting on with her preparation. Twig bundles are prepared, she's shredded up her bark, and we've got another larger piece of bark which we're going to lay on the ground, which is going to give us a bit of a barrier against any moisture in the ground. What it's also going to give us is a source of tinder that we can then strike a spark onto. That's it.
Oh.
There you go, you got it. And then add that. So hold your twig bundle by the end, and then carefully hold it on the top. So you don't push it down. That's good. Right. And then rest that on top.
And let go of the
So for the next bit, we're going to use our toggle that Hazel made last time, and our little billy can, and what we're going to make is some hot chocolate. 3 cups of water.
You have to fill it all the way up.
Yeah, all the way to the top. That's it, and then pour that one in.
There's a big one. One. This is one.
So we're going to use your toggle. We've got our 3 poles. What we're going to do next is we are going to wrap our rope around there, and then we're going to use it to hang it over the fire. Alright? Whoa. Then what we'll do is we'll go back that way. That's it, so there. Just like that. Then put your little pan on there. Remember how to do that bit? That's it.
Oh, we have to move that to the fire.
Yeah. Get that on there like that.
Yeah.
Just on to that. So here we've got our fire going, we've got our water on for our hot chocolate, all on our little adjustable tripod made from our 2 walking poles and the little toggle that Hazel made last time we were out in the woods. Good?
Yeah.
As you saw, Hazel's quite capable of using a knife to scrape up the little shavings of birch bark, and that particular method works well all times of the year. She's confident at adding the twig bundles, and it's safe because she's a good distance from the fire. It also keeps them all grouped together, so we get a fast fire. We don't have to spend lots of time feeding little sticks onto it. We do it 2 big bundles and you get a good fast fire that gives you lots and lots of heat. We let the flames die down a bit before we put the jerry can over the top of it, and the reason for that is if we had lots and lots of flame coming up, we'd probably melt through the paracord. This way we're getting the heat, but the heat is all directly underneath the pan. You haven't got flames leaking up around the nylon cord that will melt and break, and your water will fall on the fire. So our water's boiled, so we're going to take it off the boil to make our hot chocolate.
One. Oh yeah, you're that one, and I've scratched that one.
Does that look good?
Yeah, just needs a bit more mixing. Yep.
Good hot chocolate?
Let me try it this way now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Good firelighting skills?
Yeah.
High five. Yeah, cool. So the last thing we need to think about is actually putting the fire out. We've let it die right down, and we're going to use the remainder of our water to damp the flames down. We'll make sure it's fully out before we head off. Over the years, I've worked a lot with kids around fires, getting them to light fires, getting them to use fires. The biggest thing is overcoming the fear. The more we get them to do it, the less fear they have. They'll actually see that actually fire is a useful tool. You have to keep reinforcing the safety, going back to it again, again, again and again. And eventually they will get it. Remember Hazel's 3 rules. Number 1, get them to always have an adult with them. Number 2, and this one applies to adults as well as children, if it goes wrong, make sure you've got a way of putting it out, whether it's a bucket of water, something to beat the flames out with, but something there to put the fire out. And number 3, always have a good reason for having a fire. We don't just light a fire. We light a fire because we want to get warm. We want to make a hot drink. We want to cook something. Give the kids something tangible at the end of it. That way you're showing them that it's a tool. It's not just something we do. We don't just go out and light fires. We do it for a reason. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful. Above all, I hope you get out in the woods with your kids or your grandkids and do a bit of firelighting with them. Get out there, do a bit of bushcraft, link it into another project like we did. We used the toggle from last time to suspend our can over the fire we lit this time. If you did enjoy the video, hit that like button, and as always, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you have and you haven't hit the notifications bar, hit the notifications bar. That way you'll find out whenever I put up something new. If you want to leave a comment, I'll put it in the box underneath. I will try to reply to it. And if it's something you don't want to share with everyone else, for whatever reason, then drop me an email. My email address will come up on the screen in just a moment. You can always visit us over on Facebook and Instagram. I'm greencraft_01 over on Instagram, and I tend to post quite regularly. You can also help support the channel by visiting my Etsy shop. It's Greencraft Shop. And over there you will find a selection of items, things that are carved, things that are made, some items that I've sewn, and you'll also find the little Greencraft woven patch. I sell quite a few of these. They go out all over the world, and people sew them on their smocks, they sew them on their rucksacks, on their camp blankets. They sell really well. Why don't you get yourself one just to show your support for the channel? I think that's everything. I've been Neil, and until next time, stay safe.